The term alien is a modern adaptation of the Latin word alienus, which means foreigner or belonging to another. That term can be used in all sorts of contexts, like in the US, where people use it to refer to immigrants, for example. But obviously, the first thing that comes to anyone's mind when they hear the word alien is some kind of creature from outside our planet. Our experiences with pop culture have shown us all kinds of wild interpretations of these intergalactic beings. The first work to feature space creatures is H.G. Wells' book, The War of the Worlds, published back in 1898. The story mainly revolves around humanity fighting back against the Martian invasion. But let's bring it back to League, specifically the old lore of the Darkin. Before they were terrifying, corrupted warriors that we know today, the Darkin used to be aliens who came from another planet to Runeterra, looking for the world runes. They wanted to use the runes' power to destroy the void rifts that were tearing apart their homeworld. So to get the runes, they invaded Runeterra, but apparently the invasion got stopped by the Golden Warrior Queen of Valoran, who used Varus's bow to defeat the rest of the Darkin army. But after the 2018 rework, their lore changed to what we know today. So most people who got into League lore recently have no idea that the Darkin used to be aliens. But aside from the old Darkin lore, the original story of Aurelian's soul and the Targon aspects straight up said they had a galactic empire. Thousands of years ago, the Targons lured the cosmic dragon Aurelian's soul with worship and praise. They offered him a crown made of star gems as a gift, but after Aurelian put it on and left, he started hearing the voices of the aspects giving him orders. If Aurelian disobeyed, one of his stars would get destroyed. The aspects used him to build a galactic empire under their rule, and also made him fight the void. The whole story comes from the Aurelian Soul's audiobook, which talks about how much he was exploited by the aspects to conquer other civilizations across the cosmos. Actually, while this video was being edited, I noticed this audiobook only exists in Portuguese. It's a mix of a short story called Twin Dawns and Aurelian's biography. That's just more confirmation that there were civilizations on other planets beyond Runeterra. Unfortunately, that lore in the audiobook are no longer canon, but I still found a lot of it super cool, like the rise of the Targon aspects as this force that rules over countless worlds across the universe. In fact, in Pantheon's old lore, it kind of implied that the aspects might actually be aliens, but I really don't buy that. I think they were from the celestial realm, but they conquered mortal civilizations that were aliens, and by alien, I mean anything that comes from outside Runeterra. The whole idea of a galactic empire or kingdom isn't new to fiction. I mean, I gave you tons of examples: the Galactic Empire from Star Wars, the Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40k, the Covenant from Halo, and so on. At any rate, while we're at it, let's talk about the old lore of a couple of these alien champions. Tarek. He was the son of a great healer from his homeworld, who, inspired by his dad, used the power of gems to heal and protect the good people of his planet, eventually becoming their protector. When summoning magic was used on him, he decided to become a protector of Runeterra instead. But even though he liked helping out in the League, he still missed his home. Malphite. A resident of the Great Monolith, Malphite always pushed himself to be the best he could for his people, helping out however he could. When he was summoned to Runeterra, he found himself in a chaotic world that desperately needed order. So, Malphite tried to bring that same order to Runeterra, just like in his homeland, but he felt lonely, being in a place where individuality was everything, totally different from back home where everyone lived in harmony. Officially, there is no alien or race from another planet in the current lore of League, and I mean from another planet specifically, because if we're just talking not from Runeterra, then yeah, there definitely are. A big example would be the Voidborn. Beyond the material realm, outside and somehow beneath it, there's the void. It's this infinite, interdimensional, empty space that existed before the first breath of existence. The void is home to these ancient beings called the Watchers. The Watchers, disturbed by the existence of this new reality, made a pact with a witch so they could take a physical form and invade it. That's when we get all the events from Lysandra's lore, like 10,000 years ago, which ends with them getting betrayed. Some of the Watchers got trapped in true ice, but the ones who stayed out in the void decided to create representatives in the material world to study how Runeterra worked. And that's how the first Voidborn were made. They have this insectoid look, something gross and disturbing, designed to trigger people's sense of fear and discomfort. I mean, bugs already creep people out, so their design plays off that ew feeling or the classic what the hell is that reaction. Like a cockroach is literally 200 times smaller than the human, but the second it starts flying at you, you're instantly like, huh? Even though it can't actually hurt you. And of course, one of the most famous examples of aliens ever is the xenomorphs from Alien, and they're directly referenced in League through Kha'Zix, who's clearly inspired by the movie Alien vs. Predator, especially in his connection to Rengar. And there are other similarities besides just the appearance. The Void can infect living beings by implanting a kind of embryo that feeds on the host from the inside out. That's super similar how xenomorphs reproduce. The queen lays the eggs, then facehuggers hatch from the eggs and go looking for a living host to implant the embryo. Once it's there, the embryo feeds off off the host until it bursts out from their chest. What's cool is that with some void creatures, you can actually see their body parts look like a mix between biomass and machine-like components, just like xenomorph anatomy. I think the best example of this is Kaisa's suit and her void cannons. And hey, maybe I can consider you a subscriber, someone who hits the like button, and maybe even thought about becoming a channel member to unlock perks, like early access to videos and voting on topics. Also, we're looking for narrators who are native Spanish speakers, so contact me if you're interested. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of another void champ, Rek'Sai. If I had to compare her to some alien from fiction, I'd say she's most like the shy Hulud sandworms from the Dune movies. Both are creatures that kind of swim through the sand in their desert environments. They hunt using ground vibrations, and they basically eat anything that crosses their path. The main difference is that the worms are way bigger than Rek'Sai. In Legends of Runeterra, there are also examples that feel a lot like the shy Hulud worms, like Rek'Sai's offspring, the Zirshai, and the Dune Keeper, who's kind of like a much bigger cousin of the Zirshai. But aside from the insect void vibe, the void also draws a lot from Lovecraft's work, especially the part about creatures that are totally incomprehensible to the human mind. There's also the idea of beings that can destroy reality within a single move. That kind of horror fits more with the Watchers themselves rather than the Voidborn, who are more like minions. You can even see it in Legends of Runeterra cards. The Watchers' appearance is totally different from your average void creature. I know they took on physical form based on Freljord's aesthetics, but still, it's cool to see the contrast. They've got this vibe of morbid gods who see all of this existence as nothing more than annoying light that needs to be switched off. I can actually draw a parallel between Vel'Koz and the Watchers with Nyarlathotep, Naga Boros,
Nyarlathotep
and Azathoth. Nyarlathotep is the messenger and executor of Azathoth. The Herald is seen as active, intelligent chaos, while the Master is passive, indifferent chaos. That's basically the same thing you see between Vel'Koz and the Watchers. Vel'Koz studies the material world and relays that info back to the Watchers, doing their dirty work, while they stay passive in the background. But this whole Lovecraftian aesthetic doesn't really scream aliens. It leans more into cosmic horror of ancient gods. And even though the Void draws heavily from that kind of vibe, the theme of the video is aliens. Still, I think the biggest connection between the concept of alien and the Void is the fear of the unknown. Ever since the beginning of time, all the way to the modern era, humanity's biggest fear has always been the unknown, something we don't understand and can't control. That kind of fear can trigger all kinds of reactions, both good and bad. But in the alien sense, it leads us to something known as the dark forest theory. Back in 1959, physicist Philip Morrison and Giuseppe Coccani introduced a new concept known as the dark forest theory. It basically says that if the universe is truly infinite, then it is impossible for there not to be other civilizations out there. But where are they? Humanity has tried reaching out using radio waves for years, but we've never had any success until August 15th, 1977, when the Big Ear Radio Telescope at Ohio State University picked up an insanely strong signal that lasted for 72 seconds. Now you might think, maybe that was just some cosmic phenomenon, or like a plane or satellite or something. That possibility was actually ruled out by scientists, because the signal was completely static, not moving at all. It could have been a cosmic event, sure, but nothing like that signal had ever been detected before. And then there's the obvious possibility that it came from a civilization on another planet. But according to the dark forest theory, that would have been a huge mistake on our part. The theory says we haven't detected other civilizations because they're hiding, afraid of being discovered by a more powerful one. It's basically some Warhammer style logic. So if we're out here broadcasting our location to the entire universe, we're basically sending out an open invitation for someone to pull up and wipe us out. And if a civilization is advanced enough to travel between stars, what chance do we really have against their tech? Now, comparing that to the Void, it was the Void that discovered Runeterra's reality on its own, but it's just as unknown and mysterious. Nothing outside the Void truly understands what it is or how it works. No one even knows if there's any way to stop the Void for good. And honestly, that probably isn't even possible. So maybe eventually the Void is just gonna win no matter what. Maybe that's the major cataclysm Zillions always trying to prevent by traveling through time and never managing to stop it. So yeah, we're talking about an alien force that can be delayed, sure, but probably never truly defeated. Most people, when they think alien, probably picture a green humanoid with a big ol' head. That classic concept is actually referenced in Heimerdinger's Alien Invader skin from the Invaders skin line, which is also a direct nod to the 1996 movie Mars Attacks, where Martians invade Earth. Still on the topic of skins, Alien Corky is a reference to the most iconic spaceship design in alien-related media. That classic unidentified flying object. You know, the classic round saucer-shaped UFO everyone everyone thinks when they picture aliens. Besides those skins, there are a bunch of others that also take place in space and involve aliens. Like for example, the Steel Valkyrie skin line. It's set in a dystopian future where mercenaries and mega corporations are fighting for control over chunks of the galaxy. Soldiers wear exosuits powered by alien tech, but the only actual non-humans in this line are the ones that are going to get more attention here, since this whole point of the video is aliens. So we've got Blade Mistress Morgana, who's half human, half alien, with cybernetic implants across her body. She's inspired by StarCraft's villain Sarah Kerrigan, who is a human that got assimilated by an alien species and kind of became part of a collective hive mind. Then there's Eternum Nocturne, Cassiopeia, and Rek'Sai. They're organic machines created by some long-lost unknown civilization that's been extinct for ages. The rest of the skins in that line are honestly not worth mentioning. We've also got the Space Groove skin line. It's basically a galaxy powered by the mysterious energy known as the Groove, which brings good vibes through legendary instruments crafted by the god Orn. Then you've got Lysandra, who's trying to wipe out all the groove energy from the universe and replace good music with, like, elevator noise. The only one who's explicitly called an alien in this line is Lysandra, but let's be real, the others clearly are too. The alien squad includes Teemo, Lulu, Nami, Rumble, Blitz and Crank, Nasus, Willem, and Orn. The whole vibe gives off major Space Channel 5 energy, a game from 1999 where the protagonist defeats aliens using disco dance moves. The resemblance is kinda crazy. And then we have one of the most famous ones, the Odyssey skin line. In this universe, there's something called Aura, a golden essence that serves as a life force, and every galactic power wants it to gain more power. This line has tons of aliens, like Malphite, Ziggs, and Kha'Zix. I'm not including Aatrox here since he's not technically an alien. He's a human who got twisted and corrupted by Aura. Even though he looks super alien, he doesn't count. Another one we gotta mention is the Headhunter skin line. It takes place in an alternate future where high-tech alien hunters track down the biggest beasts in the universe, including humans. The hunters are Rengar, Master Yi, Caitlyn, Akali, and Nidalee. This line is clearly a reference to the Predator movies, with Rengar looking most like Uracha, which is the actual name of the Predator species. And then maybe the most popular skin line in League involving aliens, or maybe just the most popular skin line, I'm not 100% sure, but it's gotta be the top 3 at least, is Star Guardians. In this universe, a group of students become cosmic protectors, fight against alien threats, and even cosmic level entities. And even though the theme is very cosmic, only one champion can truly be called an alien, Morgana, and technically Fiddlesticks, but she's more a corrupted former Star Guardian. It's said that Morgana came from the dark space, so she definitely doesn't belong to the same world as the Guardians, but that's still a mystery. She could also be a goddess or something like that, but nothing's confirmed yet. The Star Guardians are an obvious reference to Sailor Moon. Like, it's right there in your face. There's not even much else to say about it. If you made it this far, then you probably really like aliens, so let me throw out some recommendations of alien-related media, and I'd love to see your suggestions down in the comments too. I think one of the most iconic alien movies out there is Independence Day, set right around the time of 4th of July in the US. Earth gets invaded by alien ships, and humanity is forced to band together and fight back. I won't say anything else, it's a classic. Most of you probably know it already. And if you love reading, there's this book called All Tomorrows. It tells the story of a super advanced alien civilization called the Q, who used genetic engineering to mess around with the weaker civilizations. Like in the book, when humanity starts expanding to other planets and begins using genetic engineering to adapt to those environments, the Q show up to completely rewrite our DNA, turning humans into all kinds of life forms that barely even resemble anything human anymore. But that's it. See you in the next video.